Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. In this video, we're going to look at accuracy in AoE2, and whether you can have too much of a good thing. One of the classic fan theory speculations on AoE2 forums is asking what single tech could you give to a civilization to make that civ overpowered, with two obvious contenders being Bloodlines for Franks and Thumbring for Britons. Britons, of course, have extra long-range archers, but lack the perfect accuracy given by Thumbring. Now, certainly on a small scale, Thumbring is a great tech, raising crossbow accuracy from 85 to 100%, and longbows starting from a lower 70% and elite longbows at 80% have even more room to benefit. On its face, high accuracy is a good thing, so it follows that more must be better, but you could make an argument that a little bit of inaccuracy is situationally a good thing. That somewhat contrary, or at least more nuanced stance is what we're going to be exploring. The main argument in favor of at least a bit of inaccuracy is that when attack moved or just left to pick their own targets, your archers will aim at whatever is closest to them, which might lead to a lot of overkill, so missing every now and then should lead to more damage being spread out. This opens a whole can of worms though, of whether Thumbring could sometimes be a bad thing, and maybe Britons in the late game are actually better off without it. I feel like no one's ever really checked if that can happen, so let's investigate. To start off simply, here we have a group of 15 crossbows attacking triple their number of pikemen, who are lacking armor upgrades. I chose pikemen because crossbows have extra bonus damage against them, making them extra prime for overkill, and they're also in line formation, so misses should have a very good chance of hitting another unit incidentally. Without Thumbring, over 3 trials the crossbows average 57 seconds to clear out the pikemen, whereas adding in Thumbring, their effectiveness increases by a whopping 23%. So right away the conclusion that Thumbring is somehow going to make archers perform worse is clearly not going to happen. That said, Thumbring is conflating two things here. The first is 100% accuracy, and the second is a faster fire rate. If we modify Thumbring to only give 100% accuracy without a fire rate increase, in this case it actually loses nearly all of its benefit, being just 3 seconds faster than the non-Thumbring group. This actually gives me some hope, as while increasing accuracy does seem to make crossbows perform a little bit better, these are reasonably small armies, and inaccuracy might give a greater benefit on larger scales. If we step it up to 40 crossbows against 80 pikemen, something interesting happens. First off, the benefit of Thumbring drops from 23% to only plus 12% more damage over time. And even more intriguing, our modded version of Thumbring that only improves accuracy for these yellow crossbows makes them slightly less effective than no Thumbring at all. I only did 4 trials of each, but it's starting to look like there might be something to this. Keep in mind, missed shots only do half damage, so in theory, misses are always costing you damage even if they land, but they're still avoiding just enough overkill to still be beneficial in this situation. Of course, longbows are that fan theory favorite when it comes to Thumbring, and have longer range plus lower accuracy, so this is a unit that really puts the idea of a benefit from inaccuracy to the test. Here we have 40 longbows squaring off, with the yellow ones receiving our custom Thumbring mod for 100% accuracy and no extra fire rate, while the cyan ones are just the default with 80% accuracy. It might be hard to believe, but in 10 trials, the default longbows won 8 of them. It's close enough and there's enough randomness that it can clearly go either way. And remember, this isn't full-on Thumbring, this is just the accuracy portion being applied, but it still speaks to 100% accuracy being a bit too much of a good thing on this scale. That said, if we try it with the real Thumbring, which includes an 18% fire rate boost for the blue units on the left, it's not really close, and indeed it looks like Britons would be scary with Thumbring, just not because of the accuracy portion of the tech. It makes me wonder if this is part of why the original devs gave Thumbring that extra fire rate, as they just intuitively sensed or through game testing decided that perfect accuracy wasn't enough of a boost on its own. Now, longbowmen are one interesting case study of this idea, but the whole topic reminds me more so of another unit, the Arambai. The idea is that its ultra-low 20% accuracy might not be a weakness at all, but actually a strength of the unit, for similar reasoning with overkill when using a group of them. Arambai have fairly high attack, and their missed shots also deal full damage instead of half. So the argument is that very low accuracy isn't a trade-off, but actually is optimal for them. If we accept that lower accuracy is a good thing for the unit though, first off, is their default 20% accuracy the exact sweet spot for that? And second, if that is the case, why then does the elite upgrade raise their accuracy to 30%? Since they gain even more attack when elite, is that accuracy increase potentially a negative thing for the unit? Again, I don't think anyone's ever tried this out before, other than maybe the devs experimenting when first creating the unit, but I think we're going to have to test some modded Arambai to see what its optimal accuracy would be. Now obviously, this really isn't about targeting individual units on a small scale. If we look at small groups targeting enemies one at a time, the higher our accuracy, the better they do, in a pretty straightforward way. With this lineup of knights, having higher accuracy makes them consistently more effective and faster at clearing them out. So there's an understanding here we're talking about firing into bunched up groups of enemies engaged in melee or moving around in line formation, where overkill with a single volley is a distinct possibility. Looking at a situation like that using 20 Arambai, if we take the damage down by a single shot aimed at the center of a group of knights, we see a benefit to at least some inaccuracy. I found Arambai modded to have 30 to 50% accuracy did more damage than 20 or 75%, and maybe surprisingly, 100% accuracy did the worst, as a fair amount of damage just landed on the ground where the targeted unit had been but was completely overwhelmed. I find this test is actually very revealing of a good way to think about this whole thing. Note that Arambai's 12 attack is reduced to 8 damage by a fully upgraded knight's armor, meaning it takes 15 Arambai to one-shot a knight. That means for my group of 20 here, 75% accuracy sounds like a sweet spot, where on average 15 hit the target and the other 5 can hit other units without wasting their damage. In reality, there's still some randomness within that, and units also have a bit higher accuracy than they should at close range. But either way, clearly what we'll call the ideal accuracy for Arambai depends on the tankiness of what they're up against. There's no single number that's always going to be optimal in all situations. With a smaller group of 15, I'd want 100% accuracy against knights to make sure I can one-shot a specific target, while with a group of 40 Arambai, I'd be happy with something much lower. Even the default of 20% seems to be about perfect, where the targeted knight is nearly one shot with plenty of other damage spread around. For Crossbows as an extreme case who take just 4 shots from Arambai, 20% accuracy again works pretty well for a medium-sized group at ensuring you get a selected target, but then spread lots of damage around. So what should we make of the elite Arambai's jump to 30% accuracy then? Is that a good or bad thing? Really, it just means you can get by with a smaller mass of elite Arambai against a variety of units, where against bunched up crossbows for example, instead of an implied sweet spot at 20 elite Arambai, it's more like 14. Sniping onagers is another case where going from 20 to 30% accuracy is unequivocally a good thing for the unit. Now there is one last case that takes the same idea again to an even greater extreme, and that's trebuchets. Obviously, for sniping individual targets, the Hun's bonus moving them from 15 to 50% accuracy, or the Britain's unique tech Warwolf making trebs 100% accurate against units are a great thing. But against large groups, we get the same effect as Arambai, where 100% accuracy could lead to less damage overall, even with the Britain's splash damage factored in. If you've played around with a large group of trebuchets, you know that their inaccuracy can actually be amazing against groups of onagers, bombard cannons, or other expensive units. I'd personally recommend Japanese in particular for this sort of thing, as they fire and pack up faster. But if we're looking for cases where inaccuracy can be a good thing, this is by far the most intuitive example. Clearly, it's not the only one though, and for ranged units, there's a bit of this going on anytime you're past the point of one-shotting targets. In the case of Thumbring, the attack rate boost means you don't really have to consider this, as faster attack just overpowers any drawbacks. And Arambai also combine their accuracy increase and its potential situational downsides with a decent stat buff to more than offset that. So it's not something you have to make active decisions about, but I still think it was worth a demonstration in action. That'll do it for this one though. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.